thumbs down emojis, I think. That is an option for you. And then the chat will be how we can talk to each other throughout this whole conversation. I'm going to hand the floor to Erin, Erenberg.
Hi guys. So everybody, thank you first of all for making the time. I know it's really hard to commit to an intention that you have, and we're all looking forward to connecting with all of you. So the reason that we wanted to come together and talk about quarantine and the postpartum cocoon is that, I think all of us have heard from friends of ours or are experiencing ourselves that while this is a really strange time and an unforeseeable time, we are reminded of the period of early postpartum where we slowed down. We paid more attention to the people that we'd called in to our lives in an intimate way. We spent more time on the couch. And we really had to be intentional about how we spent our time. We were also spending a lot of time at home. Some of us were dealing with a lot of anxiety and hormone changes and moods and an evolution that was different for us. And so we did a poll on TOTUM where we said, hey, does this feel like postpartum to anybody else? And 96% of women said yes. And just really wanted to explore that. And so I reached out to these amazing women and Heng Ou wrote the first 40 days and runs an amazing service called Motherbees. And when I was in my postpartum journey, I felt really loved and nourished by what she had to say about the ancient rites and rituals around confinement or lying in, and just really intentionally going through the postpartum period, and wanted to hear from her today. So I'm excited that she's here. Dr. Michelle Glanz is a clinical psychologist in LA, and she works with women and families. And, a lot in our community are talking about feelings of anxiety, some feelings of depression that are reminiscent of those postpartum feelings. And Michelle is amazing at providing a container for those feelings and helping us understand those. Alexis is the founder of Not Safe for Mom group and someone who I text message 18,000 times a day. And, she has this amazing community where she really helps women talk about absolutely everything they're feeling, things that they think might be too dark to bring up in a traditional mom group or even among friends. Alexis is amazing at helping people really understand themselves and communicate their truth. And so I'm delighted we have these four women. I want to start by going around and having each of these women talk about what's present for them right now, or maybe share a story related to our topic today. So Han, I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you everyone, and for inviting me too. It's I think it's such a wonderful opportune time to be part of this amazing collective, and for whoever shows up, it's really the right timing for you, because obviously you're called to this. So I'm really, really grateful for this space. So I think that's how I sort of see that to what I'm experiencing right now in my home is whatever that I'm called to, and whatever shows up on my phone, on my emails, on me, whatever shows up in my, just anything that I'm sort of having access to is what I need to sort of look at that very moment. Anything else that does not show up, I don't invite myself to, I don't turn it on, I don't do anything else because I've cut that all out. So I'm able to sort of like create a very simple life for myself. And I'm just in this, I feel like I'm retiring from life, which is such a celebratory place to be because I don't need to drive around LA like a crazy woman, and I don't need to stress. And I think that this is like the most amazing life vacation I've ever experienced. So I'm really like counting down, like I'm dreadfully like counting down on the days that that the lockdown's gonna be lifted. So that's where I'm at.
What does that look like for you with work? How do you decide what work to call in right now? If it doesn't flash in front of you, what does that look like?
Yeah, and you know, and I had to make some big decisions in the beginning. You know, right when I sort of heard that the panic was starting, I closed down the food delivery service because we're amongst, you know, a larger kitchen with so many people coming in and out. So that was a big decision to make because I needed to protect myself really and my staff that was moving in and out. So because I know what food service is from the back end, and it like anybody can be at risk, anybody can slip, anybody can. There's just too much to control, which is too risky. So I had to sort of like just stop that. And whatever I'm doing inside my home now, I'm just strategizing and planning and doing so much content work, which is so wonderful because if I wasn't locked down in confinement, then I wouldn't be doing this space in this limited amount of time. You know, and I'm like really seriously like dreading the time when I have to go back out in the world, you know, because this is all about like really protecting yourself inside and really going into your head space, your heart space, and connecting the two and finding where your growth spurts are because it's an opportune time, you know. So that's why every moment, every full moon, everything that's happening, I'm really taking advantage of.
I think we also we should also say how old our children are when we introduce ourselves, because it might also put into perspective where we are during this time. Because you have kids who are a little bit older than a lot of the attendees on this chat, which might also explain how you're able to have so much choice in how you're feeling and the control over what you're welcoming. And I think that's, I know for a lot of people in the Not Safe for Mom group community, there is not a lot of language around choice and control and welcoming. It's like a barrage of uncontrollable things that are hitting them because they're dealing with babies, newborns,
right,
toddlers.
Right, absolutely.
Maybe
yeah, and my kids are, you know, 12, 14, and 16. And half the time, you know, I do get to spend the time by myself because I'm also a single mom. So, but I was saying to you ladies earlier was that, you know, I get to sort of learn that part about myself and then disperse it slowly when my kids come back in the home. And also I can then help others who are completely inundated in the panic, in the anxiety, in like the stress, sort of like experiences and feelings. So I completely understand, you know, the part about just that constant fear.
And for those of us, my kids are 7, 5, and 2, and so I feel what Alexis is talking about, and I think most of the TOTUM community is either expecting or is early postpartum or has young kids, and there's just this sense of, gosh, I wish that I could be really intentional and I could create something beautiful right now, but honestly, I am fitting in work in these like 5-minute cracks that lead up to an hour a day, feeling really stressed, really anxious, not showing up with, you know, my partner and my kids the way I want to. What are some, you know, those qualities when you are able to kind of go away and be on your own and be really intentional? What are some of the qualities that you might be able to share with us and to this community that we can maybe try to lean into when we feel like we're going cuckoo bananas? Because that's how it feels here all the time.
Yeah, and from a very early on, with my little ones, because they're 2 years apart, you know, when they're very little, I've learned very early on to close the door on them and put myself in a room and give myself a timeout. and it took a lot of years to train them not to come in because mom needs a nap. And that was a huge deal. With that, it's like they have to fend for their own food because whatever I buy in the house, they could eat. You know, they could just do whatever they want. Unless I hear like complete crazy screaming, then I'll run out. But when the door's closed, that's my time. So, find a laundromat, find a bathroom, find,
Alexis has her closet. That's your favorite spot, right?
yeah. That's been like in them from the very beginning. It's like when the doors close, that's my time.
Good.
Yeah.
Michelle, how about you?
Hi. So my kids are 4 and 5. And so we're still in the training period of not coming through the door. So hopefully I'll get through today without somebody coming in and saying, Mommy, I want you. But yeah, it's been really challenging. I've been kind of holding all these hats at the same time and yet in the same place. It's been interesting seeing patients on video 5 feet away from my bed, while also being a mom in the same space. And yeah, so I think for me, it's been very difficult to remember that I need to take care of myself in order to be caring, emotionally for all these other people. And I hope that, today I can impart that same piece of advice to all these moms that sometimes feel that guilt in doing that. Because, if we're anxious and we're upset, our kids feel that. And that really has a big impact on them. So.
My kids are screwed.
Who said that?
I did.
We'll talk. No.
A ball of anxiety all the time.
But I think it's we're going to feel anxious, and this is an anxious, scary time, and that's real. And for our kids to see that, we're human and that we do have to handle those emotions and cope with them is really important as well. And to have open and honest conversations with them about, what that means and how it makes you feel, and how it's really important for us to all be, taking care of ourselves in that way. Even if you're doing like 10 minutes of like kiddie meditation in a way that they can do that, that's a lot.
I truly have tried that, and my kids are like, when is this done?
Yeah, I know.
But they yeah, this is I didn't mean to interrupt. What are the kinds of topics, have they shifted a lot for your clients? Like if you were working on something with a particular client for the past year, has it just completely flopped to like, how do I get through the next day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the client. I've certainly seen some people that are coping much differently than others. I think people were on different timelines for accepting the seriousness of the situation. So, the topic sort of transitioned from what we were working on before to this at different rates. But yeah, I think there is that general feeling of how am I going to get through this and what is it going to look like when I do, and just really being able to hold that space for everybody and know, that there's no right way or wrong way to go through this grieving process, because that's what it is. This is grief, and we're losing a lot right now.
I'm feeling a lot of that triage feeling myself. I'll have days where I'll be like, I completely have this in the bag. And then days where I'm just like, I'm putting my fingers in all the different holes. I have described this a lot like a ship, like a sinking ship. My husband said to me last night, he's like, we're doing great, right? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're like hanging on by a thread. It's like we're having two completely different experiences here, because I mean, I just can't even catch my breath.
Yeah, and you're in New York, so
yeah, New York City.
Yeah.
Not having the ability to be outside and being in an apartment is, I think, hard with two boys that really have a lot of energy and need to stretch their legs and run and wrestle and do all that stuff. But that triage feeling is what really brought me to this topic of postpartum, that this period reminding me of postpartum, because when I think back to having my first child, it's like me over a sink, nursing him and like shoving Ritz crackers in my mouth, because I was like, if I don't eat now, I'm going to pass out. If I pass out holding a baby, that's not really a good thing. And it's this feeling that the day is just whooshing by and there's so much that needs to get done in the course of the day. And I'm just trying to stick fingers in holes of like water coming out and sinking my ship. And I remember that feeling so well from having a new baby. And the cocoon is a really lovely word. It sounds so soft and comforting. I wasn't in a good cocoon when I had a baby. And this cocoon feels like not the most sturdy one that we're in, but I am hearing a lot from my own community about just the anxiety that they're stuck inside in this particular situation. And that's why this topic really resonated with me. And I wanted to be able to talk about it with experts and other people who can relate. And I know we're getting some questions. We're getting a lot of questions, actually.
Yeah.
Can you all see this?
Yeah, we got some good ones coming in here.
Yeah. Let's see. We have someone who's having a C-section in 5 days and is really worried about the postpartum period and the quarantine experience. She also has a 5-year-old. She'll be sending her kid to her parents' house for 2 weeks just to be sure that she won't be bringing COVID to him. I guess what she's looking for is some grounding advice. I think Han
Okay.
be able to help us with this.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm seeing a few postpartum questions, and one, I think there could be, the best thing about postpartum period is that you can actually plan for it. It's not so much of like, you plan your birth, but you can't quite be committed to the outcome. But with the postpartum, you can sort of like do like a general planning. But yet, you have to sort of also give room for your emotions and your hormones, right? So I think that's comparable to what we're experiencing right now, is everybody's going through this like postpartum cocooning, and it's containing, and it feels suffocating is what I'm seeing earlier in the chat room, is that it does feel suffocating because that is the visual sense of what it feels like. It's true. Like, you're in this box, you're in your house, and there's not a lot of room to kind of go and just be. But that's also like a story, that we tell ourselves too. So one, with the planning of like letting your 5-year-old go to your parents' house, I think that's an amazing step, because you're really being proactive. You're not being in fear mode. You're just like, you know what, this is just the practical way of being. Like, even if I was not in the COVID, weeks, maybe I'll be doing that anyways, because that was what I'm going to need. I'm going to need two weeks on my own with with my baby, and maybe with your partner. So that could just, that's an amazing place to be, because you have your parents nearby. In Asia, right, like women go away for a whole month on their own, and they're being taken care of 24/7 in the confinement hotels. But siblings can't really come in and out of these hotels. So it's like the mindset of going into postpartum, it's like, you know what, this is such an amazing time, and I'm going to really like just nuke it. I'm going to like do so well at this and receive and accept whatever emotions and feelings that come in, because now I have the room and the breathing room to do that. And if it's, you know, anger, if it's feeling like your resources are being, you know, limited, all the feelings, they're all true feelings, right? I mean, I'm sure Michelle can, like, you know, touch on this too, but like, they're just all feelings, and everything will pass. Everything will pass, right? So like, you just sit there, you're, you know, and so practical sense with postpartum is obviously, what are your essential needs? You know, your essential needs is, you need to rest, you need to create, you know, a good amount of just nutrients that come in, because you do need that. You need liquids. And, you know, I'm a big proponent of drinking hot water, you know, and constantly drinking hot water. And I know also right after birth, you're really, you'll go through like a sweating period. So you'll also sweat so much, and you're just like, oh my God, your bed is like constantly wet. So with that, and you're breastfeeding, you constantly need the liquids, right? So it doesn't have to be an amazing, elaborate meal or postpartum meal, but I'm sure whatever you have in your house, you can make something really just simple, really simple, and just, you know, and just make the best of it, you know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
It's actually hard.
planning to the best of your ability is huge, but also the planning with flexibility and knowing, you know, that if the plans need to change, that's okay. This is a really different time, and something that we've never experienced before. So not getting too stuck, you know, on what the plan is, and also, you know, there's going to be a lot of feelings, and to accept that those are going to be there and that they'll pass, and this time will pass as well. And so how do you want it to look when it is behind you? What do you want to say that you've done during this time? Because it will be behind us.
What I love too, the three things I actually wrote down: rest, nutrients, and liquids. Those are three things that always restore me regardless. Like when I am flipping out, feeling, I've noticed, you know, we talked about Glennon Doyle, and other people have framed it this way too, but like, what are our easy buttons versus our restore buttons? And one of my easy buttons is when I'm anxious, I become really judgy. So what that looked like at the beginning of this, I was so mad at anybody who wasn't staying home. I was like furious, like, why don't you get it? Just stay home. How dare you?
So much of that reaction.
Oh my gosh. And I had to check myself and be like, what am I making that mean? This is clearly an easy button for me, is to become like Judge Judy over here. And I've been noticing like all of these easy buttons coming up for me in my anxiety. And those simple things, even now, when I'm able to wake up in the morning and before having coffee, have a big glass of water and spend a moment writing down 3 gratitudes, I swear to God, my day is so much better. And it sounds so simple, but it makes a huge difference. And that's one thing that I think is so lovely about the comparison between early postpartum and now, where you have to get back down to essentials, because sometimes when we are just spinning and we feel like the world's falling apart, which there are very scary things happening, and I do not mean to dismiss that. And I think any of us who are safe and healthy, we are very lucky, and I know we feel that. And so even with that sense of like privilege and guilt, I spiral down. And some of these things you mentioned that are so simple and that apply postpartum, apply now in terms of self-care. It's not going to look like getting our hair done. And by the way, that never really helps that much anyway. It's something very simple and basic to restore our humanity.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And you know what? And maybe Zoom is going to be our best friend for the next year, you know, and that's okay too. So like, I think it's about like, yeah, taking down your expectations about how your, you know, toddler is going to be, you know, what he's going to be learning, you know, what it's going to be just in general, you know, what your relationship will look like to your partner, to yourself. Just like take it all down a couple notches, you know, because we all are like perfectionists in our own way. And I definitely have like an OCD side in me, but also I have like a lot of like free spirit. I'm like, I'm not going to get out of bed today, ever. So So like taking down expectations, and also maybe noting, I really like, when I sort of like talk to some friends who are having some challenges in life, I really like to have them sort of like list out 2 columns. One is like the sort of like the storyline of like what you constantly tell yourself. It's like, I have to, my kids are gonna like, or like, I'm gonna be a bad mom if my kids, watch an hour of TV a day, or just your constant like recording of your story scripting. And so like, you write that down, and then the other column, you write something of like, something that's positive and something that's proactive, that's gonna change that script for you. So that's like an immediate sense of visualization of like, this doesn't have to be this way. I'm just telling myself it's gotta be this way, but I'm the one who's telling myself. But someone else might say it this other way. And it could just be an immediate switch over to like pure anxiety to like, I can just like relax and lock myself in a room. Like, just like do whatever you need to do at that very moment. Go and do some jumps, go and close your eyes, go and like feel the, just the sky and the earth, wherever you are, on your carpet, wherever you are in the moment. Just close your eyes for that millisecond, and you just change the scenario, the emotions right away.
I get that. I get flipping the script. I think it's really hard when you've already flipped the script so intentionally. Like for the mothers who had really tough times with their first postpartum experiences, who have been preparing very intentionally to have it go differently this time around by putting in place the support systems, the scaffolding that they need. This time it's going to be different. And then to have that all taken away, I think it's been a really huge blow to a lot of women. And with someone here who put in a question like that, and, she needed more help this time, and now it's not going to be there. So now she has to flip that script one more time. I think it's exhausting, to have to do all of the self-talk, to talk yourself down over and over, especially when you're vulnerable. Postpartum and pregnancy, the later stages of pregnancy, are the most vulnerable times, as you know. And I just want to hold, I hate this expression, I want to hold space. I just want to give mention to that this is really hard stuff for our communities and for the women listening in, to put into practice when you're already in crisis mode.
One thing that has bubbled up for me a lot is that I feel that I'm being forced to grow all at once in all of these areas. And so, I can only imagine a woman who's going into a birth vision and having to restructure that entirely, and lose some of the support and the scaffolding, as you put it, Alexis. I can only imagine. And I do, having said that, think that it is so helpful to go back to rewriting the story and thinking through. And it's interesting, Han, something that you said about, women in some countries in Asia going into hotels for confinement and being away from their older, the babies away from the older siblings. It was so funny to me because I think about how we judge ourselves so harshly as parents, like, oh, my poor 2-year-old who is getting a sibling. I feel so bad for my 2-year-old that I can't play. And what about the siblings aren't bonding? And meanwhile, the sibling is a week old. We have this crazy expectation and crazy sense of perfection that I don't think our moms got that same memo, and certainly their moms didn't get that memo. And even hearing stories of, what other cultures do and what their expectations are, I think one beautiful thing about this being a global pandemic is we realize how much more alike we are, and we don't have this sense of we in the US have it all figured out and that's a problem for somebody else. In fact, we have to look at the wisdom of other cultures, and I was reading how in China, people who were asymptomatic were all going and quarantining together, and that helped them get through this more quickly. Whereas we have this individualism where we're like, oh, hell no. Like if I'm sick, I'm not going to be with somebody I don't know who's sick. And that could actually trap us. So I think this, while it's so uncomfortable, and often when we feel that discomfort, it's because we're growing, you know, this is a wonderful invitation to get outside our myopia, to get outside our vision, our limited story of what any of this could be like, and allow space for something different.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get preachy there. I just feel this deeply.
No, of course. I mean, it's a very passionate, you know, subject, because it hits all of us, you know, no matter how old our children are, you know, or if you're just starting out, you know, we're all very sort of like emotional beings.
Yeah.
I think, again, this is an amazing invitation, right? So, you know, in the first 40 days, we often talk about like, there's no sense of going back. Right? We're only going forward and what we are today. So if I even look back at my life, what I did yesterday, I'm like, I'm not going to do that again. You know, I don't really want to do what I've done already. Cause like, that was so much of like, so much learning and so much this and that, and so many, you know, this and that. And I'm like, you know, I don't really always want to say, like, I can't wait to go back to that. Yeah, there are certain aspects I miss right now. But I'm okay about not at all and letting all that go, because you can really recreate yourself wherever you are right now. And I see the, you know, the question about virtual support, you know,
That was a good one.
Maybe that is what it is moving forward. We're going to be moving into this whole AI thing, and we're going to have to do a little bit more of this. And it's like just taking down your barriers and just saying like, and just surrendering to what it really is, and not asking for anything more, not to be greedy, not to just like, okay, this is what I have. This is what I have in my fridge. This is what I have in my pantry. I'm not going to just stress now. This is like what I have, and just be so grateful. You know, everyone's healthy. You know, even though you might have, you know, your challenges and your, wherever you are in life, and they're all you know, relative and important. But this is human, you know, we have a human experience. And what's so amazing about this is like we have it experienced in a universal way. And we're not alone at this at all. And we have so many offerings now, more than ever, of people offering their services online. You know, so to ask for help, you know, like everyone's offering help online, you know, so let go of the idea of someone coming into your space to give you that one-on-one, let that go, but also receive that there's an abundance of help that you could get around the world. And you have access to like, you know, like everybody right now, everybody's doing the same. And I'm like, I could pick up the phone and talk to Oprah if I wanted, if I could. I can't. But like, you have access to her kitchen. I mean, like, what better scenario is that, right? So,
I think
it's like taking down.
Important to be, sorry, hon, like very direct and explicit about that help. Just sort of speaking to the question about asking for the virtual help versus real life help. And, you know, for those of us that have difficulties asking for help, I think maybe asking if you have a partner for them to be the ones to ask for the help for you is okay as well. But yeah, just really being direct and explicit and to not feel badly about that.
Well, and you know, there was an earlier question about, you know, I think it said about a spouse who is working. And so this mom is having to jump into all of the household work, and she also works, but her husband is the breadwinner, so to speak. And I think it's an awkward time. I know we've got two single moms here. I have a partner. It's been an awkward time for us because for me, I've been in this cycle of do it all because I like the way it's done, this controlling cycle where I know it's not the best thing and I'm all about, you know, trying to figure out some kind of fair play, but it's hard for me to give it up. And now that we're in the same space, I've really been pushed to give it up, to say, you know what, why do I want to do all this stuff? Why do I have like the better way of cleaning the kitchen and that matters? No, it doesn't matter. You know, and so giving that up, and I think also as women, it's a really amazing moment to claim what we want and to claim our time and to say, you know what, my work may not bring in as much money as yours does, but my work feeds my soul, and time is time. Time is not money, time is time. And if this is a way that I need to spend my time to feel whole and to feel good and to feel fulfilled, claiming that. I think we're realizing that, you know, there's no superhero that's going to come for us. We have to speak up for ourselves, and we have to claim what we need. It's super uncomfortable. It's really hard. But I think we're being challenged to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I also, there was also in terms of asking for help, this is a practical question, but I thought it was interesting. What are we allowed to receive as postpartum women from other people? Someone wanted to know. Like if someone's sending you something, is there something you—
Oh, like literally receive?
Cookies. Erin.
Oh.
Not for me.
Totem treats. The first 40 days.
Look.
Do you mean the technical part about receiving just anything or packages or?
I guess if someone's sending you something, are you allowed to receive gifts, I guess? Because it's just, it could be risky. I don't know. It's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think, I don't know if you're receiving, I mean, let me see. Yeah, I mean, we are receiving Instacart, we are receiving groceries, we are receiving, and if they're receiving gifts and food from people that they know, that's a lot safer because it's made in their home, and there's not a lot of strangers coming in and out.
She just—
I see the main.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, do you mean Amazon?
I went to practical. I was like, I don't know what kind of things.
Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, yes, that makes so much more sense, and we probably can speak to that much better. Yeah.
And Kelly, are we referring to like your partner, your husband, like in the home, or your children, or just yourself, or
Social support.
Social support?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the touch and the warmth that they need, she says. I thought yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What can you recommend a postpartum mother receive from others during her first weeks home with her baby in this time of family isolation? I guess because you can't get the touch and the warmth from people. So
Right.
what are other ways people can offer support to you?
Right.
I think Zoom now, like I'm saying, it's so important. And, you know, if you're in therapy, to continue doing that as well. It's really important. If lactation consultants are offering virtual sessions.
Send DoorDash money.
Yeah.
So Kelly is meaning touch and warmth that they need, and ways to do little things for ourselves. You know, that's a fantastic sort of question, concern, because this is also a daily, you know, ask for yourself. It's not just during this time. Like, let's say, you know, for myself, I have, you know, morning rituals and bedtime rituals. Like, I need to have transitions in place, and that's how I feel good, because the warmth and touch, I can't rely on anyone. Like, that's just, you know, because I don't have, you know, a partner to do that with, or my kids, yes, but I have to really rely on myself. So whatever gives me comfort right now, which is a hot bath, showers, water, because I'm a Pisces, I need water touch. I need to drink water, I need to touch water, that gives me comfort. And that's my skin sort of like exterior, you know, just like that would just calm me immediately.
And I know everybody has different feelings about this, but one of the reasons that I always loved postpartum is just how you're doing everything you need to be doing by holding the baby close to you and watching Netflix. I mean, that feeling of having this brand new pure soul. And I know it's not easy. I'm not trying to paint some gloss on it, but there's so much time when a brand new baby just needs to sleep and eat, and just that skin to skin, and knowing that you don't need to be doing and rushing around and in this mania that we get ourselves into, just sitting and being. You know, for me, I always felt so much comfort from this brand new life. So, you know, and I know everybody's different, but I think it's an opportunity to really, to welcome that and just bask in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, you're getting a crash course right now, which is really great too. You know, you get to like sink in, so you're not, so when you actually, you know, go give birth, and you know, you're back at home, you're not having this sort of like shock of like, oh my God, what do I do now? You know, because you're in it already, and you get to transition it into it a lot smoother. And it won't mess with you, you know, sort of like mentally, like, oh my God. So now it's not that much of a drastic change.
And no one's at the office doing stuff without you.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
You don't have that anxiety.
Michelle, there's one for you. Do you see this? How to calm your mind through panic attacks and anxiety. Currently 24 weeks pregnant with baby number 2, planning another C-section delivery. Between changes in OB appointment schedule and some hospitals not even allowing you to have support person in delivery or postpartum, stay in the hospital, all just feels too much to handle sometimes.
So thanks for that question. It's really important. It is a lot to handle. So I think first and foremost, recognizing that this really is so difficult, and to allow those feelings to come in, you know, even though you're having them. I see a lot of moms, you know, pregnant moms or new moms who carry so much guilt for having these feelings that come up, but just knowing that they're normal. And then I think, you know, if therapy is possible, you know, finding that emotional support. If not, there are some really great meditation apps, you know, which, you know, I was never someone who meditated before this, to be honest. And I started doing that every night. This has become my evening ritual. And it's amazing how the littlest things right now make such a huge difference. So just finding something, you know, in your routine or lifestyle that you can just tweak a little bit. You know, some of the things that we've been talking about, making sure, you know, first and foremost, that you're taking care of your body, eating and drinking well, sleeping as well as you possibly can. And, you know, reaching out to friends and family, even if it's virtually, and then therapy, if that's possible.
Yeah, and also another one is just maybe kind of introduce yourself to hypnobirthing, you know, and just kind of get your mind off of what it is right now, what the news is saying and all this, and like, and just kind of give yourself something that is sort of like gonna help you through birth, you know, or just something that like is gonna be anyways part of your, you know, just, you know, I call it the marathon, but like you're in this marathon getting ready for birth and postpartum. So, I mean, I loved hypnobirthing because I would always fall asleep. I never remember anything in it. I'm like, I'm going to lay down, even though she says
I love her voice.
Like, I'm going to lay down.
Seriously, I love her voice. Sometimes it'll just come up. She'll come up for some reason because of my iPhone being plugged into my car back when we would be in the car. And my kids were like, what is this? It's like, allow.
Hypnobirthing.
So yeah.
I know. And I know we have some attendees here that are having cesareans, you know, and that's another layer added on. And I completely recognize, you know, there's just layers that are just like one on top of the other. And then that creates the overwhelm, that creates anxiety, that creates panic, right? So how do we sort of like start dismantling and compartmentalizing like one at a time? Just handle what you can at that day, one at a time. Not think about the quarantine if you get sick. Don't think about what isn't real. Don't think about like what is like not right now. And just think about what can you actually do, you know, getting ready for birth, your cesarean, your just transition from hospital to home. How are you going to organize your other children? What your partner's role will be, and start there. You know, start with those conversations with your partner, because you're not going to do this alone. You know, if there's a partner in the house, you know, like you can give him tasks, because that's what he's going to need to do. Like he's going to need to do certain things, and it's good now to realize what you actually need to give yourself comfort, and because that's the most important part. Like, what will you need to calm yourself
Also,
when you're not sleeping, when you're breastfeeding, all the above.
the beauty of a planned cesarean right now is that it's the one thing you have control over and that you can plan. I mean, you're not like in full control of like when it is specifically, but you know when it is. You get to pack your bag on the day, and you can say goodbye to your other kid if you have, you know, a firstborn child, or, you know, two other whatever, and everything is kind of in order in this time of so much that is not in order. And as a very anxious person myself, that was the one thing I found comforting about my planned C-section, which was not during quarantine, but I had an emergency C-section and then I had a planned C-section, and knowing that I could like organize it to an extent gave me some peace.
Yeah, and maybe Alexis, maybe you can kind of share, you know, some tidbits on, you know, when the mom comes home after cesarean, how to sort of give herself the nourishment, the comfort, all the above, just to kind of help her ease into, you know, her new mom.
Well, a planned cesarean, first of all, is easier on your body than an emergency cesarean, because your body isn't already doing all this work of trying to push the baby out. So it wasn't as hard to recover. And I found that by the end of the first week, I was able to do a lot more abdominally than I could the first time. But I sat a lot. I did not pick up laundry. I just did a lot less. I asked less of myself than I did the first time. The first time I didn't know what I shouldn't do, and so I did everything. So it was just about asking less of myself was probably the greatest gift that I could have done. And to sit and I chose to nurse. I know not everybody chooses that, but that really helped me a lot, because it forced me to do even less, because my baby he nursed incessantly. So I just sat in a corner of my couch and rested and nursed, and we watched a lot of Frozen, so that my toddler could just sit with us. And I didn't try to play with my toddler. I was just like, get together. We're gonna all be in this cozy spot, watching a lot of movies and bond that way. Here's your brother. And then I had my husband bring me snacks, and I drank a lot of water, as much as I could. So I recommend sitting and doing less was probably the best thing I could have done for myself. I know you want to hear that I had a lot of warm broths and nourishing foods, but I didn't know about that stuff at the time. That was pre-mom group. But it helped, and it was a much easier recovery. So I do want to give some hope to the C-section moms out there. It's not horrible. And
no, that's amazing to hear. And I wasn't expecting, you know, like the gourmet meals that, you know, some other mom-in-laws make. But no, I mean, because your happiness and your joy of whatever you sort of plan and what gave you that, like, just joy at the very moment, just sitting with your family, watching Frozen, that was it.
Yeah.
You know, that makes up for whatever nutrient you're getting, you know, or because it's such a mental, you know, placebo effect as well, right? So, right? Yeah, so
I want to make sure we get to this one question that did come up online, and then we do have to, I think, start wrapping it up. Some mothers are wondering, how do you know the difference between postpartum anxiety and depression and just the regular anxiety that's coming up around quarantine and COVID-19? How do you piece that apart for yourself? Some moms are just unsure.
Yeah, I think that it makes sense that it would be and could be both right now, given, that they're struggling with both things at the same time. I also, I don't know if it's as important to figure out what is attributed to COVID and what is attributed to postpartum, because the treatment or the help that I would suggest would be typically the same. I think to recognize when you're having difficulties caring for yourself and your baby is most important, and when you are to really reach out for help, whether it's anxiety attributed to COVID or postpartum issues.
And Michelle, for you or somebody like you, let's say for moms out there who are struggling with some kind of anxiety or depression, what's the availability for telemedicine for somebody like you? Like, how can we be reaching out? Back to Han's point, how can we be taking advantage of virtual help, specifically around mental health?
Well, I think for those of you who want to find therapists on your insurance panels, you can usually just go on the insurance website and they'll have therapists in your area. For any of you that live in California, I'm available and taking on new patients as well, and doing virtual therapy. I specialize in perinatal mental health, trauma, and anxiety disorders. And I can actually write my email address here so that you can feel free to reach me. Or for those of you that, are not living in California and just want, a brief consultation or whatever, I'm available as well. And I also have a lot of referrals in other cities.
That's awesome. Somebody asked about, I know we have to wrap, but this might be a good way to kind of wrap it up too. Somebody asked about, I heard about postpartum depletion. Can one of you explain it as well? And one thing I've been obsessed with is how Han talks about in the first 40 days, how when a woman takes care in early postpartum, it really protects her health for the rest of her life. And there are some beautiful examples of that in the book and what that looks like. And so along those lines, in terms of what postpartum depletion is and what we can do to take care around those issues, because I'd love to hear more about that from you, Han, because I think that similarly, when we are able to take care and reset now, and even in the way that we show up with our kids as, not being perfectionists and letting them feel their feelings and allowing for our feelings, this can pay dividends later. So maybe a word on postpartum depletion and some ways to kind of solve for that.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that is the first 40 days, applicable to the first, 40 days, yes, that's a yes. Like first 4 days is applicable. Like, I've had people say, I'm 41 days. Can I still read your book? And I'm like, oh my God, you can still read the book if you're like 10 years down the line, because, the principles are applied for postpartum. And I addressed it to 40 days because that's like in a comprehensible like time period, right? And physically, that's when you sort of like make a little turn, your first big turn. I feel like after about 6 weeks. So, but that concept is also applied to your monthly cycles. That concept is also applied to whatever stress, anxiety you're experiencing, but in a more like minute scenario. So what you're experiencing right now with COVID, with, pregnancy, with just getting ready for birth and postpartum, you can apply all the attributes, give yourself ritual, rest, warmth, you know, just go down again to the basics, right? And again, like, what's so amazing about postpartum, what we talk about is the openness and your vulnerability to the physical sense and your emotional sense. And that's why we say, if you take care of yourself during that time, you're going to patch up and heal, or you can heal some major aspects of your just life in general, because you get to look at your womb, you look at your mom traumas, your dad, like any traumas, and it's all kind of compacted into the first 40 days, but yet if you give yourself that leeway of like, you know what, it's not going to just be 40 days. I'm going to take it to like 2 years. I'm going to take it to 5 years. I mean, like, or maybe less 5 years because it's painful. But just know that there's no boundaries. It's only yourself that gives you the boundaries. There's no rules set in, because it's only you that gives you the rules. You know, because we want to be the certain way. And you guys are all amazing people. You know, you guys are all very beautiful, healthy, loving people. So, and there's just so much to be grateful for. You know, we're all in this talk today, and we're here. You know, that's an amazing piece already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I feel really grateful for all of you and for all the women and the moms who joined us. Thank you for being here, and any expectant moms. I know I speak for all 4 of us that we're thinking of you and holding you in our hearts all the time. I know that it does feel overwhelming. You're not without support. And again, I know I speak for all of us that one of the reasons we have, really the only reason in my case, an Instagram account, is to be able to be of service and of help. And so please know that this isn't goodbye, and we're all here for you. And thank you for sharing yourselves with us. To the other panelists, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your stories and yourselves. And you know, we're happy to do more of these and extend the topics. And so, you know, stay in touch.
Thank you, everyone. This has been so great. I think it's like the highlight of the week, to be able to talk to other people besides my kids and my husband. No, to really to feel connected to other women who are going through the same stuff that I feel I'm going through, and having similar thoughts and questions. And I'm just grateful that we all got to share this together virtually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, everyone. Any last words?
Thank you. No, I thank you. And, you know, everyone who showed up today and who's going to be, you know, going through birth in the next few weeks or days. I mean, complete, you're just, you know, you're in my thoughts, you're in my prayers, you're just like in my field. So it's, you know, just in it. So that's, you know, I can't wait to hear about how it's all going to turn out for you, and, you know, just, yeah.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.